All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the second to last race of the Area 51 Premier Series. So this is race number 3 of the playoffs. We've had 2 down. We've got 2 to go, including tonight. We are here at Auto Club Speedway tonight. It's going to be 80 laps as the race distance. Drivers making their qualifying laps as we speak. Right now, you see right there, 80 laps is the race distance. Right now it is 69 degrees ambient, nice, 74 degrees track temperature. And we're going to pull up our standings because that's always the thing that we're going to need to be watching out for this evening. And it's been pretty much the Ryan and Larry show this entire season. You can see 4 wins to Ryan Kelly's name, 6 wins to Larry. But right now, Ryan has the edge by 6 points over Larry Yingling. In third, though, not too far out of reaching distance, is that 83 of Jack Walls. We'll have to keep an eye on him throughout the course of this event as well. And then right now, you've got Kevin Freeze 4th, James Ledford in 5th, and then Chris Matthews, Gabe Butler, Chad Wilkes, and Dale Knott, the remainder drivers. Unfortunately, we mentioned before, Dale not able to race these last couple of races due to his new job. So luckily, that's all been going well. So real life getting in the way of going in circles, but always fun to see what those guys are up to. Chad Wilkes missed last week. He is back this week, though, so I think he will be one to watch out to see if he can contend with those top 3. And we've got a special edition in the field tonight. He's been asking all week long, all season long, really. And with me being able to pull in one of my buddies from the NASCAR 2003 days of Brandon Webb, that allows Maxwell Caldwell to hop back into the car, now in the 94 instead of the 51 machine. And Maxwell going to be running some laps here tonight at California here, as well as you see him here heading into turn number 1, putting down some qualifying laps as we speak. But yeah, right now, again, it's right now the Larry and Ryan show for the points. But like I said, Jack Walls, he's in a position he can pounce if anything happens. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see. Fuel window sounds like it's going to be in the 30, mid to low 30 lap range. Based on that, I suspect we're going to see drivers most likely have to make 2 stops, of course, pending yellows. I know, Brandon, you're probably still making laps right now on the track, trying to get a feel for what these drivers are going to be in store with you. In store for us, I should say. But first off, I want to thank you again for hopping on the booth with me. Always a pleasure to have you. Take us through what you're finding out here so far.
So yeah, so glad for the invite this week to come back on and have the chance to represent again. The main thing that I'm seeing in this car, and I think this is kind of universal with this track, is cars are always going to start out pretty loose early in the run, and I think that's going to be the same with qualifying and in the race. But they're going to come in pretty quickly. The big key that I think we're going to really see, aside from just tire and fuel management, is finding those marks. This is a super wide track, so finding out when to get off the throttle, when to make your turn in and hit your apex, where your apex is, and then when to get back to throttle can really just make or break a lap time. You get back to the throttle a little bit too early, and you're either spinning out just because you're loose, or you're carrying a little too much speed and get into the wall coming off. So a lot of variables there. The car's just going to handle it differently at different parts of the run. So it's going to be really fun to watch, sitting back watching people moderate all those different changes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very intriguing to see what we got in store for us tonight. And with that, it looks like qualifying just has completed. So with that, we'll pull up our starting grid for tonight. And it is going to be Chad Wilkes on pole position by 0.02 of a second over Ryan Kelly. Maxwell Caldwell, he's going to qualify 3rd. Jack Walls 4th. Larry Yingling in 5th. And then in 6th, you've got Todd Merkel, James Ledford, Skylar Brown making an appearance tonight in 8th. I think Skylar might also be one to keep an eye on. Then you got Gabe Butler, Chris Matthews, Jim Brooks, Michael Spell, and Joseph DeCiro going to be the drivers taking part in the race this evening. And it has been requested in YouTube, Brandon, so I think we're going to have to kind of accommodate that, and we're going to have a chat with that driver that's kind of making the jump over. He's run some laps here tonight, and that is going to be that now number 94 of Maxwell Caldwell. So we'll pull Max in. Used to being in the booth, but tonight you finally get to run some laps in the race with your buddies. So I know you've been running some laps. So we went with Brandon, talked about what he's been able to see. I know you've run a lot of laps too, Maxwell. What's it looking like for you this evening to try to get the win here tonight?
Oh, man. Hey, well, got to say it's been so much fun being in the booth this season with you, Gael. It's been so much fun. But, I've been itching and with just a couple races left and, kind of hearing through the grapevine there could be some little bit of changes going on. I wanted to try to run this car one last time with these guys. So the car tonight, pretty well on the tight side. You're not going to see a lot of cars get loose, but I look for track position to be king. You really want to, you got multiple grooves, especially in 1 and 2. You can kind of run the bottom or you can run the top. And even in 3 and 4, you may even see some guys work their way up toward the wall, even trying to get some massive runs down that front stretch. But look for a lot of probably pack racing here at the start, but then look for everybody to kind of string out a little bit, the cars to get really tight, and then it's going to be managing tire wear from what I've understood tonight. So it's going to be interesting. I'm rusty. I don't know if I got anything for these boys, but good to be back in the 94 once again, and hopefully I can do it proud for Dale not there, and hopefully maybe we can bring this 94 in victory lane.
All right, so I know it's a quick pace lap here, so we'll let you get back up with your teammates, and good luck tonight, Max.
Thank you, sir. Y'all enjoyed up there.
Yeah, so also in our chat, Mark Brown, good comments about that as well. So just mentioning, I'm going to be watching, like he said as well, that the tennis Skylar Brown. Actually, don't see him taking grid here, so that isn't going to bode well. But yeah, Skylar was always one I would watch as well in these races. So we'll see. Hopefully, Skylar's able to make an appearance, maybe starting from the pits or something. But right now, it actually looks like just 11 cars on the grid. Skylar Brown, Joseph DeCiro not on track, but it's going to be Chad Wilkes, Ryan Kelly leading here to the green as a green flag flies, and we are underway 80 laps tonight here at Auto Club. Larry wasting no time. He's going to take it 3 wide into turn number 1 in the 67, trying to get underneath Maxwell Cobble and underneath Ryan Kelly. Again, the kind of the Maxwell is the meat in the sandwich of the playoff competitors right now up front. So you know that's going to be in a nervous position for that 94 car, but he knows these guys. He races with them week in and week out, and he's going to complete that spot. Now he's going to look after Chad Wilkes, try to get the lead here going into turn number 3. But I think Chad's going to hold the momentum out of turn 4. So it's going to be Chad Wilkes leading lap number 1.
The first few laps of this race, all these guys, it's probably one of the better tracks to feel out your car and still try to make some headway. The cars are going to be a little bit loose, but just for a short amount of time, and then they're going to start getting neutral and then getting tight. So you want to get these runs and these moves made quickly right now, and it looks like some of these guys, like the 94 and the 67, are doing all they can to get in that lead right now.
Yeah, as you see, Maxwell's pretty much solidified himself in that second spot, not too far off of Chad here for that lead. I'll say the one I'm going to be watching is going to be that 13 of Ryan Kelly. He always has a knack for just really being able to manage his tires for a couple of laps, kind of let him build the pressure, build the temperatures, because it's one of the things drivers mention. The more you can take care of your tires those first couple laps, it just pays huge dividends over the course of the run. So for Ryan Kelly, I think if he can hold this track position, because you know he's going to have tough competition from Jack Walls, James Ledford. You see James already trying to work that third line here, actually fourth line at this point. They're up on the top, getting a big run on the exit of 2. But I say if Ryan can hold the track position and maintain tires like he is usually able to do, that's going to be where he really usually shines in that 13 car. So, but right now, like I said, he sees again just being attacked all over. Now it's Jack Walls trying to work the outside of him. Isn't quite able to get the run on the outside, but you see does get some momentum. He's going to peak down low down the front.
This is one of those tracks where you're going to be able to make some runs happen. Early on in the run, you're going to be able to take advantage of the aero and the cars around you, that little bit of draft. But you're really going to be able to set people up just because of how wide this track is. So watching the 83 work over the 13, you know, the 13 is probably one of the better guys at saving his tires. Ryan Kelly, I know 2 weeks ago at Las Vegas, was really able to take care of his tires throughout the entire race and stay out of trouble. Right now, though, he is in a hornet's nest.
Yeah, you see, I think he kind of had to roll out of it a little bit, let Jack Walls go again. I think Ryan's on his own little strategy right now. And you see now just gets right to the outside corner, actually, of Jack Walls. He's going to have the momentum now down the front straightaway. And so he's going to kind of stay right on that quarter panel. Nope, he's going to give Jack a little bit of room there, so move Jack now up into 4th. Like I said, for Ryan, he can't afford to give up too many spots, even though he's trying to save those tires, because that's just going to put him in a tough spot to have to try to regain those positions later on in the run. And it's one of those things where you kind of have, you might lose a little bit on the short run, but you want to gain on the long end of it. But you got to make sure you don't hurt yourself too much on that initial part as well.
It's so easy to burn up your tires here. Most tracks you've got a little bit more reference because the walls and the inside of the track are a little bit closer to you. But at this track, everything's so far away. It's so wide that you can really burn up your equipment early just by not having the correct reference points on when to get back to the throttle and when to roll the center a little bit. So Ryan's one of the best, though. I don't expect he'll have an issue falling into a rhythm. But right now they're starting to line up in the back half of the field. They're still too wide, but it looks like they're starting to string out a little bit and iron out their positions.
Yeah, it's getting pretty dicey, right? You said right behind them, you saw the 2-car Todd Merkel trying to make some moves. And then you had James Ledford, Gabe Butler really close together off of 2. Chris Matthews joining that party as well here in the 92 on the outside right now. As they will see if he can make the momentum work on the outside through here. You see he's worked to the outside of, that's going to be James Ledford. And now he's getting that momentum as well on Ryan Kelly, but just not enough yet to make something happen. You see Jim Brooks also looking to the outside of the 48 of James Ledford as well. So say right now these guys definitely moving all around, but up front though, here comes Maxwell Caldwell's peeking to the inside of Chad Wilkes. Not enough yet to make the move happen out of 2. But yeah, so now it's going to bring Larry Yingling a little bit closer, as well as that 83 of Jack Walls. And you can see already now, starting lap number 7, you see that 13 car Ryan Kelly starting to creep back into the picture in here.
Yeah, he is so fun to watch. Just the way he ebbs and flows throughout a run. He's so methodical. But right now what you're seeing is these guys are starting to line up a little bit. Some of the guys in the back were able to get a little bit more air on their nose and really race for position a little bit more. But they're starting to line up a little bit. They're going to fall in line, run a few laps, see where those tires are, and then start making those moves probably in the last half of the run. But I see we've got a challenge for the lead up front.
Yeah, I say Maxwell got a great run into 1. He's gotten alongside of the 17, but you see the momentum on the outside. That's allowed Chad Wilkes to get back around him. He's going to hold on to that top spot. As now you see Jack Walls. Jack starting to put some pressure on the 67 of Larry Yingling. Again, we mentioned about Jack. I mean, he's only 14 points out of the lead. So, I mean, he's got to be aggressive here. He needs to try to gain as many spots as he can to try to close that gap on that 13, on the 67. So I'll say that's going to be the goal for him. I think if he can keep the pressure on these 2 guys, I'll say maybe force them into a bit of a mistake, that's going to be his best opportunity to try to climb his way up into those top 2 points positions.
Yeah, if Jack's able to have a good run tonight and then hope for a little bit of misfortune by the other championship contenders, you know, he can really make some good headway tonight. I see the 13 car making the run on the inside of him, but you know, he's got a long race ahead of him, and he's got the experience with him. He's just got to really bide his time and settle in and find a groove. It's a tough track to pick your spots to pass, but it is a track that you can pass on. So I think in the long run he'll do well. He always settles in pretty nicely, but still a long race ahead of him. And man, that battle up front's getting tight.
Yeah, so they're not giving up an inch over up front, which is that's just gonna help these guys get right back into it. Right now, about a 5-car breakaway basically with Maxwell and Chad going after lead. It's brought Larry right into the fight here. And then, like you said, Jack lost a little momentum fighting with the Larry, and that allowed Ryan to get back around him. So let's now move Ryan back into that 4th position, Jack in 5th. But like I said, I feel like this is starting to get to that point where we'll kind of see Ryan, I think, start to flex his muscle a little bit. But I feel like 2 cars that we've seen are typically the fastest on the long runs are that 83 and the 13. So there are going to be 2 that I'll be watching throughout the course of this race as well. So, but with all that battling, though, it's brought Larry Yingling right to the back here of that the 94, I should say, of Maxwell Caldwell. So we'll see if Larry can find a way to get around Maxwell. As you see, he does a great job getting off of 2 there. Brandon, he's going to take a look here as he goes down the back.
This is one of those tracks, you know, I feel like, and it's going to be an odd comparison, but 2 weeks ago when we were at Vegas, it's one of those tracks where you could stick your nose on the outside of someone, and if you could get there, you could really pinch them down. If you can do that here, and you can probably get a little bit better run through the center and get to the outside, you can really cut off someone's momentum. Sometimes you can make them loose, sometimes you can make them tight, but the goal is to slow them down. So, you know, if you get a nose on the outside of somebody, you might be able to make a pass.
Yeah, saying that continues on right now as they fight side by side now. Larry and Maxwell trying to fight. A little bit of contact between the 2 of them coming out of 2. Don't think it's enough to really give either car damage, but what it is going to do, though, is it's going to cost each of them a little bit of momentum. You see Larry putting a block on Ryan. Ryan having none of it as they're going to go 3 wide there into turn number 3.
Yeah, a lot of hard racing here. We're only 12 laps into this, and they are racing 3 wide right now through 3 and 4. You know, this is just going to let the 17 car pull away a little bit. Luckily, the arrows should help bring them back in once they do fan this out. But we've gone a full lap now 3 wide, and this cannot be helping anyone's tires.
Yeah, probably not helping the tires, but I have a feeling there's smiles in all 3 of those drivers' faces right now. So usually when you've got a group of guys that you run with week in and week out, and then you feel confident with doing things like that, they're having a lot of fun doing so. So right now Larry, Ryan, and Maxwell putting on definitely a fun show right now. And again, I'd say, and they're, like I said, with them doing all that, it's just right now keeping Jack in a good spot here as he again is able to take a look underneath that 13 of Ryan Kelly. So like I said, right now we got about a 5-car battle here for this top spot. Everybody right now all within 7-8 tenths of a second from first to fifth here.
Yeah, what I saw there was Maxwell, running really well there in second, and then now he's all the way back and forth in one straightaway. You get to the throttle a little bit too soon, and you just lose the nose here, especially coming off of 3 and 4. 3 and 4 is a little bit tighter of a turn than 1 and 2. So when he gets back to that throttle, if he has to get out of it for any reason, those other guys are just going to freight train right by him, and you saw that's what happened last lap by.
Yeah, so a little bit of tandem drafting there with the 67, 13, and the 94. They're all working with one another. I think it was like you said there, Brandon. So they saw the gap they were losing to the 17 and Chad Wilkes. Says, hey, let's get back in line here. Let's push a little bit and try to get back up there. I'm going to jump back a little bit because Todd Merkel in 6th. He's in the middle of the battle here. He's got the one of Gabe Butler right behind him. Chris Matthews is right there as well. They've been able to separate themselves just a little bit from Michael Spell, James Ledford, and Jim Brooks. But these 3 also right now, kind of 3 little packs going on right now. So these guys all kind of having little battles going on with one another right now. Todd able to hold on to that spot, but it looks like that 92 and the 1 definitely are trying to gun for that 6th position right here and try to close the gap to those front 5.
This track does create some kind of interesting dynamics, with the amount of aero that effects that this track has on it, just from the amount of speeds that these guys are carrying, but also the tire wear that comes with this. You really see a lot of changes as the run goes on. We're roughly halfway into a fuel run right now, and we've seen about a second to a second and a half of drop off from the first lap or from the best lap till now. It's really interesting though to watch who might not always be one of the fastest guys on track, but with the aero package as it is, somebody can really keep up and run some lightning fast times and be the fastest guy lap after lap just based off of the car pulling him around the track, and him not having to put a hole in the air like that.
Yeah, you see right there, Chris just able to clear the 2 of Todd Merkel. He's going to take the point here in that 92 car, so move him up into that 6th position. So now, like I said, with that battle, that's brought Gabe Butler right back into the mix as well, trying to see if he can finish that position. You see right there, squeeze between the 2 of them entering one. I think both those guys trying to fight for a little bit of track position on that entry. I think that that 1 car having to enter as shallow as he did, that's really going to hamper his turn there. And you can see Michael Spell looks like he's ready to take full advantage of it, try to make some momentum happen on that top side to see if he can work his way around the 1 car, which he just finishes there as they enter 3.
See a lot of different strategies, I would think, in this race. In the last few races, I think what we've seen is cars will try to go to the end of a fuel run, but I think that tires are going to play a bigger play in this than they typically would, just because as fast as this track is, things can get so spread out. So you'll stay with your car, but you as a pack may not be gaining on the leaders or able to keep up. So hopefully we'll see some different strategies here, and I think it's going to be an interesting run through the race, watching how these guys will come back together and spread back apart as they go.
Yeah, so right now there's a little bit of a separation out the top 3. Chad, Larry, and Ryan have been able to sneak away just a little bit from Maxwell and Jack while we were watching that battle a little further back. Not sure if anything happened or just maybe a little bit of tire fall off for the 94 and the 83. Well, to keep an eye and see how the lap times look. But you see Chad Wilkes, though, he is trying to see if he can kind of shortcut the track a little bit, try to break the draft off of Larry a little bit. These guys are definitely doing everything they can. And that was the thing 2 weeks ago with that 17. I mean, he was fighting for all he was worth to hold on to that lead at Las Vegas. So I think we'll probably be seeing the same out of that 17 car of Chad Wilkes because, like I said, those 2 cars behind him, they have won every race this season. So Chad's going to be the one to break that streak.
He definitely hasn't missed it by far. 2 weeks ago he came so close to that win at Las Vegas. I think Ryan was able to kind of sneak it out, but you know, he played a little bit of a different strategy in that race and was able to make it work for him. And this one, he's leading, so he can't really dictate that strategy in the same way that he did then. But man, he's doing a great job of putting the car in the right position to break the air on the nose of the car behind them, make them work a little bit harder, and doing a great job just holding these guys off.
Yeah, he really is. And saying again, two of the best behind him in the business at this as well. And I'm gonna say right now, it just looks like they're kind of just. I think the 67, 13 just kind of playing with each other a little bit. As I think the 13 actually, I think he pushed the 67 to almost force him to have to make a move on Chad Wilkes entering 3. I wonder if that's to try to then put himself to the outside of that 17 car. As actually you see Ryan try to squeeze that third line, try to make it 3 wide. Now he's thinking about the middle. No, he's going to stay in that outside groove with the 17 car. He's going to try to push him around Larry. Because again, right now, I think those are the two right now that these guys will be watching each other. It's going to be that 67 and 13 car. As again, these guys have just that huge battle here for the lead here as we're on lap number 21.
I think the 13 and the 17 made a little bit of contact coming off before that last time by. 13 had such a strong run just because they were running too wide in front of him. And I think he may have misjudged it a little bit, or maybe he was trying to help out the 17, but he's still looking to the outside. I don't think he's content to run third or let them settle it. I think he wants to have his say in that battle.
Yeah, so even saw there, I think he tried to give the 17 a bit of a push down the backstretch, and now he's going to peek to that third line. Yep, forces Chad to the middle, almost contact with Larry there. So we are going to go yet again here 3 wide in turn number 1. This time it's the 67, 17, and 13 as they go through turn number 1. I say we'll see if right now Ryan Kelly carrying a ton of momentum off of turn number 2 here, Brandon. And look at that 13 car. He's going to slide his way straight to the front there. That was a power move by Ryan Kelly.
If you look in the dictionary and find the words power move, that's the picture that you see. He just goes around. He's watched those tires, and he's the best in the business at saving those tires and not putting a strain on them. And he just waited until the momentum, was in the right place, and he could make that move in just the right place. And man, I'm not sure if he lifted going through that turn, running on the high side, just killer run off. And we'll have to see if they can do anything to overcome that.
Yeah, I mean, to be able to do what he did there was very impressive. You have to wonder now, does anybody else, do they start to move up a little bit to see just, again, the kind of momentum that he was able to carry there through 1 and 2? Does someone say, hey, you know what, I want to try that third line, that fourth groove, maybe see if there's something there for us as well? Because, I mean, the way he carried that car through that turn was just extremely impressive. You see a lot of different grooves right now, almost 3 different lines there. Larry just pretty much just right on that white line through 3 and 4. He gets a great exit out of 4. Now he's going to try to work over Chad Wilkes, try to get that second spot, because again, he does not want to let that 13 get too far away. These guys are the two right now. They're only, I believe it was about 6 points apart, if I'm not mistaken, entering tonight. So say Larry, and again, I don't think Larry's led a lap yet either, so that's going to be the other thing for that 67 car. Needs to try to get a lap now to kind of offset that bonus that the 13's got, as Larry just creeps clear of that 17 of Chad Wilkes, but Chad's going to try to get the over-under on him.
Yeah, speaking of definition of slide job right there, the 67 was not going to be denied coming up off the corner. But the 17, or excuse me, the 13 was the 17, I said it right the first time, was able to keep that momentum up and put his nose back on the bottom. But man, these guys are running so close. They're clearing themselves as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah, again, say these guys are racing for just inches between one another, but again, these guys just they've run with each other all season long, multiple seasons with one another. So I was saying that's something Maxwell talked about, is you almost race your friends, your teammates even harder than you would anybody else. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing right there out of Larry Yingling and Chad Wilkes. As again, you can see Larry just not quite able to clear that 17 of Chad Wilkes into 3. If he can get a solid exit here out of 4, this might be able to complete the pass. But you can see Chad trying to keep that throttle down. But yeah, it just got a little tight there, had to roll out of it, and that's going to finally give Larry the spot. As Jack Wall's going to hit pit road here a little early, I feel like, Brandon, but it looks like Jack might be going a little alternate strategy, maybe trying to pit as early as he possibly can, try to take advantage of those fresh tires, because like you said on the tire drop-off, they are running about now 2 seconds a lap slower than their fastest laps of the race.
I think he's going to try, or hopefully the strategy is to take advantage of at least a few laps of green tires. Just based off of the numbers that we saw in practice, it looks like he's pitting somewhere between 6 and 8 laps early in the fuel run. So maybe that's going to give him an advantage. He wasn't really losing ground. He had kind of settled back into 5th or 6th and was really maintaining pace there. I think he was running 6th at the time. Really maintaining his position, wasn't really falling back any, especially with the leaders having jockeyed for position a little bit. But this could be a game-changing, strategy call for him to get him back out front, and then he doesn't have to really hurt his tires over the long run going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be really intriguing to see what the difference looks like. I'd say it also might be a ploy for him to be able to get a lap lead as well, because like I said, he's got clean track now coming out of that pit road here. He is a lap down. Is in lucky dog position though as well, so he's going to be the first car one down at the moment. But like I said, with those fresh tires, like I said, it looks like about a 2-second drop right now. So give him a couple of laps. I mean, you'll probably see the difference between those new tires and the old tires. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that the interval as the run progresses here. As Todd Merkel, he's going to react as well. He hits pit road from the number 2 car. I need to mention James Ledford. He'd pitted the previous lap as he's coming out now. Michael Spell's hitting pit road as well. So these drivers, I think, all opting to go for that slightly earlier pit stop approach, which has usually been one of Ryan Kelly's strong points as well. So I would think on Ryan, if we kind of split this run evenly, you would expect to see him in the next couple of laps to try to split that 80-lap run in thirds, basically.
Yeah, I think Jack really kind of showed his hand and forced the hand of everyone else involved. So him taking that extra lap and getting ahead of everyone is, I mean, you can see it now. He's making good headway as the 67 pits. He's the fastest car on track right now and should continue to be until pit stops cycle through. But hopefully him coming in a lap or two early will make to where he doesn't have to force his tires and really damage those tires over the long run. I think this is going to be a good strategy call for him to keep him in contention in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, and Larry's going for that undercut. We talk about previous races. Larry jumping in a little bit before the 13 of Ryan Kelly. Usually it's Ryan that's able to jump the gun on those guys, but this time it's going to be the 67. As you can see, here comes Jack Walls, as he said, with those fresh tires, a huge head of steam. That's the difference of fresh tires versus old. And actually, Ryan's going to make a late reaction there. He's going to hit pit road as well, locks him down. That's a big slide, Brent. I'm a little nervous that he got that thing down to speed before the pit road line. We'll have to wait and see. He's also brought Chris Matthews along with him, so that's going to put Chad Wilkes to the point one more time in the 17 car. He's got Maxwell Caldwell only about 3/4 of a second off. So right now, these two are going for the long strategy here. So we'll see how that goes. And do need to mention also, importantly for Larry Yingling, he is back out and he is out in front of the leaders, but also behind Jack Wall. So that was what we just talked about. Say Jack maybe getting an opportunity to get that lap led before everything cycles through.
Data shows. I mean, we look at our best lap and then the last lap, fastest car on track, Jack Walls, almost actually 2 full seconds faster than the leader. So every lap that the leader stays out there is a second to 2 seconds further ahead that Jack will be on track once all the pit cycles, so it cycles through. And I mean, it could be a big effect. I think the 17 right now should just be hoping for a caution.
Yeah, so here's Ryan Kelly sliding it off of turn number 2 on the apron, trying to see if he can stay ahead of Larry Yingling. It's going to be tight between them, but I think Larry's going to have the momentum. So that one lap earlier for the 67, actually they're going to stay side by side, Brandon, through 3 and 4. Right now, Ryan's on those brand new tires, wants to hold that spot. Larry's got slightly older tires, but probably a little bit more up to temperature, as these guys are going to be. This could become the battle for the lead once the pit stop cycle is complete. As Chad Wilkes, Maxwell Caldwell, they hit pit road with one another here at lap number 31. Come to 32 and see if Gabe Butler. Gabe is going to run a little longer than that one car. He's been able to run his fuel mileage just that much longer here, and he's going to get a lap led tonight on lap number 32.
Just because they're on slightly different strategies does not change how hard they are racing. We are less than halfway through this race, and Larry Yingling and excuse me, I can't even speak tonight. The 67 and the 13 are just duking it out. I don't know how this is going to affect their tires long run, but neither is willing to give an inch. They're still side by side 2 or 3 laps after they've come out of the pits and cycled those tires.
Yeah, like I said, they've been side by side since they got out of the pit. Since Ryan Kelly, got out of pit road. And they've continued this way ever since. Like I said, neither given an inch right now. And again, Ryan only has a 1 lap advantage on tires than Larry. But while they've been battling so close there off of turn number 2 yet again, this has actually allowed Jack Walls to, I think, hold his lead over these guys just a little bit more. So now, of course, the question is going to be, you see they're coming out with a very big lead over those other drivers that had pitted, like the 17 and the 94. As I say, I can't get away from this fight. Did you mention Gabe Butler? He has just hit pit road. So I believe it won't be this time by, but next time by, Jack Walls might get a lap led in the 83 car while these two continue to fight it out side by side here.
He did not. It looks like, based off of the telemetry, that he was still second crossing the line. So hopefully he can hold them off one more lap at least and get that extra point for leading. But it looks like that battle for second has resolved itself. The 13 was able to pull ahead of the 67. But, man, what did that do to his tires? How is that going to affect him long run? You know, Ryan's as good as anybody at saving tires, but maybe second only to the 67, but man, I can't imagine running too wide. It would be good for those things long term.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, especially when you're pinned on the bottom. You see here, Jack Walls is going to get that lap led now this time around the 83 car. And again, you talk about the top 3 points. Here they are sitting 1, 2, 3 as they run. So say Jack Walls getting that all-important bonus point there for leading a lap. And now he's going to have Ryan Kelly and Larry Yingling hot on his heels. He's got about 4 lap older tires than Ryan, 3 lap older than Larry. And also got mentioned for Maxwell and Chad here. They've really lost a lot of track position with this whole battle. You see Maxwell, he's come out in the 6th spot, just now got around Chris Matthews with his fresher tires. Is Chris actually going to work on trying to get that spot back here? Got the kind of the over-under, if you will. But Chad Wilkes, so I'm not sure if something happened on his pit exit, but he is falling way off the back here. He is about, I believe, about 5 seconds off of Max. So yeah, so not sure what happened to Chad. Pit stop, everything looks normal. Actually, no, I'm sorry. His pit lane time is where it is. His pit lane time was 59 seconds, whereas everybody else was in the 52, 53 range. Ryan Kelly actually somehow, remember we mentioned almost speeding, 48 seconds in pit road compared to the 51 for Larry Yingling. So Ryan getting everything on that pit road.
That is amazing. There is time to be made up everywhere, and right now Ryan's showing it on the track. He's going to the outside of the 83 car and making it look easy. Another power move. The 83 was able to hang loose there for a second, but man, it's hard to fight that 13, especially on older tires. But you know, even on pit road, he's just like clockwork, Mr. Dependable.
Yeah, that was really impressive. Like you said, that the pit road time, like I said, I thought he was going to get a stop and hold, honestly. And I'm looking at the lap time, or the pit lane time, and he was basically 2 seconds quicker than anybody. I'm going to actually pull it up here on the side here. So again, we mentioned Ryan Kelly, that 48.4, I'm sorry. And then you see all the other drivers. The closest one to him, I believe, is Todd Merkel at a 50.8. So, I mean, yeah, so over 2 seconds quicker than the next closest car on pit lane. So just awesome job by that 13 car. But also got to say hats off also to Todd Merkel with that as well, because he's now cycled up into that 4th position, and he's got a nice little margin between himself and Maxwell Caldwell, who's trying to gain that time back. And again, I think that pit strategy we talked about with Jack Walls, I think this is panning out really well for him. I mean, he was sitting pretty much solidly in that 5th spot, but I mean, he's right now sitting nicely in 2nd. Larry probably will get him in another lap or two, but then he's got about 5 seconds until 4th place gets to him, so I really think this is actually a really big net gain for this 83 car.
Yeah, this pit strategy has really thrown a monkey wrench into the running order. You know, we saw the 17 drop from 1st all the way to 9th, so I'm sure that he had some kind of hang-up on pit road, but Larry Yingling working his way around the 83, but Todd Merkel maintaining 4th place. Everybody's kind of jockeyed around here. I mean, fastest car on the track last time by is setting in dead last, but he ran a second faster than the leader.
Yeah, so it just again shows that I think just the importance also of the tires, like you'd mentioned. And again, that's not that long of a difference. I mean, Gabe Butler pitted on lap 32, Ryan Kelly pitted on 29, so it's only 4 lap difference. 4 lap difference between them. 3 lap difference between them. Sorry, I'm looking at different drivers here. I say the overall difference between the earliest and the latest, you have Jack Walls pitting at 25, Gabe Butler at 32, so 7 laps between them. And I mean, like I said, it seems like that short pit strategy has worked very well for this 83 cars. Like I mentioned, Maxwell Caldwell just now catching up to Todd Merkel to get himself back up into the 4th. But again, then he has to gain 5 more seconds to even get to the 83 of Jack Walls. And by the time he gets there, we're going to be very close to approaching that next set of pit stops if we stay green.
Yeah, not only that, but they're running very similar lap times. 2 laps ago, Jack was a little bit faster. This time by, Todd was a little bit faster. They're really close. The car to watch, though, I think, is the 94 car, Maxwell Caldwell. He's putting down some good laps now and really start to try to make as much headway as he can.
Yeah, so at this point he's got to go. Because again, he's got a lot of time to make up. He's the one that went the longest of the leaders. Like I said 2 laps later than Ryan, 3 laps later than Larry. But like I said, a whopping 6 laps later than Jack. So I mean, he's going to have much fresher tires now that he's got clean air. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can do in relation to these guys around him. Because let's say last time by, even with the pass, I believe he was still the quickest car on track. Or I should say second quickest. Like I said, Gabe Butler still quickest car on track with those fresher tires as well. But yeah, I think now with clean air, that 94 car probably going to put down some pretty good laps here.
The good thing for Maxwell is he's been in the booth all season. He's seen and gotten a feel for the way these guys race, on top of the fact that he's raced with them in the past. But, you know, he may have been a little bit rusty during that first run, that first green flag run, but he is showing that he's got the pace to keep up, and coming out of the booth was you know, no sweat for him, just jumping right back on the track.
Yeah, so there's a reason why he knows what he's talking about in these races. I say he's been there, done that, and very competitive at that. So I say while we're on lap number 40, already just crossed halfway point, we'll run through the field here real quick. So of course, right now our race leader is that 13 of Ryan Kelly, qualified in second. Now in the lead, in the second spot is his championship rival Larry Yingling. Almost 2-second difference now between the two, and we saw them put on a great battle out of the pit road after their first set of pit stops. But right now Larry's gonna have to try to find a way to claw some of that time back. Say third in points though, Jack Walls sits in third right now, actually 1, 2, 3 running where they are in the points, but Jack using that short pit strategy I think to a very good advantage to move himself up into third. And then we mentioned Maxwell Caldwell, just talking about him, he sits solidly in the 4th spot, and he is closing that gap little by little, about a half a second quicker than Jack Walls at last time, and about 0.2 of a second quicker than our leader Ryan Kelly, so he's going to need some more of that the rest of this run. And then in 5th, Todd Merkel in that 2 car. Saying I feel like the 2 and the 9-2, they just all season long it seems like they've been just pretty much locked onto one another. It seems like they just can't get away from each other, and so that's where they sit once again. Todd in 5th, Chris Matthews in 6th. Chris with slightly fresher tires, so that should help him close the gap to that 2 car. And then a little further back, Jim Brooks also went with that early pit strategy like Jack Walls. Has moved him up a little bit, but I'd say now it's starting to kind of fade a little bit with those older tires. And then we mentioned Chad Wilkes. Something obviously we missed that went wrong during his pit stop cycle, as he's dropped back to the 8th position, unfortunately. Also a little bit of connectivity issues, it appears. And then in 9th, you've got James Ledford in the 48 machine. In 10th, Gabe Butler. He went the longest of anybody before pitting, so he has the freshest tires, and he has been closing the ground on a lot of cars in front of him. And then right now, last car on track is the 80 of Michael Spell, still on the lead lap. But yeah, definitely hoping for something to go his way here to try to close that gap to the guys up front. So, but right now, I think closest battle on track here is this 92 and the 2. Like I mentioned, these guys just can't find a way to kind of shake each other all season long.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching the 92 close in on the 2, and he's been making progress every lap. A few tenths here, a few tenths there. You know, watching that, and then watching the 17 close in on Jim Brooks. The 17, he is not a car that is prepared to sit around in the bottom half of the top 10. He is trying his best to move back up to the top 5 and gaining ground on Jim Brooks. But yeah, the 92 I think is getting ready to make an interesting run with the 2 here.
Yeah, last time by, Chris was about a 10th quicker than Todd. So I'd say he's getting, you can see there, he moves to the top here, trying to get a little bit of momentum, probably trying to get some clean air on the front of that car as well. And you can see right there, it works. He gets a good run off of 4. And again, he's going to follow the draft here of that 2 of Todd Merkel, try to chase him down the front stretch. And again, I think you'll see him separate, try to find a bit of a gap. You see Todd, I think, runs a little deeper than Chris. I think Chris trying to go for that slow in, fast out approach. And you can see it looks like it is really working. It's getting a little tight off the back, had to roll out of the throttle just a bit, you could tell. That's going to allow Todd to kind of hold station there off of turn 2. But so you can see the 2 different approaches these drivers are taking here. As this, you can see a very bumpy backstretch there at Auto Club.
Yeah, turns 3 and 4, you tend to aim for the bottom every time. You want to straighten out that corner as best you can. But turns 1 and 2, you're going to see a few different lanes open up there, especially moving up to the second run. And it looks like the 92 of Chris Matthews is trying to do anything he can to find a gap. But there are multiple grooves going through 1 and 2. You can kind of hook that first seam, watching the 2 car kind of break the nose on the 92 there. But you do have multiple runs there, multiple lanes that you can drop into. But the 92 is doing all he can just to find a spot to put his nose to where he can get a run around that 2 car. Touches the wall there going.
Oh yeah, caught the wall on entry. I'd say I think tried to kind of show his nose low and then jump to the top side. Unfortunately, like I said, caught the wall on the entry. I say it's something it's especially with the safer barriers, they kind of jut out just a little bit at that entry of 3. So I'll say, unfortunately for Chris, that right front damage is going to definitely hurt his top end. Probably also make that car a little tighter. But the nice part though for Chris is, let's say with this league, they do have that one faster pair. So as long as he hasn't used it yet, and we're not that far away from being in that fuel window to make it to the end, maybe Chris thinks about going for that short pit strategy. Use that faster pair, get the 4 tires, get the fuel to make it to the end, and then just race it out the rest of the way and see kind of where the chips fall, if you will. So we'll keep an eye on that. Do need to mention also Jack Walls. Here comes Maxwell Caldwell. So we were talking about the gap between the 2 of them. Again, last time by Maxwell's actually about a half a second quicker than Jack yet again. So I'll say this is going to be that battle for that 3rd position right now. Everybody else is pretty evened out here. We saw also, for just a moment, we saw Chad Wilkes got around Jim Brooks. Again, big difference in tires between the 2 of those guys as well. So right now, this is going to become, I think, the battle for position. I say Chris hasn't given up with Todd, that's for sure. Still watching them, still within about a half a second. But I would say, just watching the intervals, though, Maxwell's really closing the gap here.
Yeah, the Maxwell has been able to really just gain lap after lap. I think they're on a little bit of a different tire sequence. Maxwell pitted a few laps after Jack did, but he's definitely on his way. But last time by, Ryan Kelly, fastest lap. Everybody, that having been said, though, still 2 full seconds off of their best time. So a lot of tire drop off here. We're a long way into the tire run on this one, or the fuel run, I should say. And nobody's liking their cars right now, but it looks like the top 2 are making the best out of theirs.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've seen all season long from those 2 drivers, and that's just they just are so good at what they do. So, and that's going to be my next question. Like I said, is we're really nearing that window. We saw Jack Heat really went early last time, pitting at 25. So I'm wondering again, do we see him come in sooner than later here? Let's say we're going to be coming across lap number 50 this time. I think at this point everybody's easily good to go to the end. So far nobody's blinked yet to make that final pit stop. But yeah, so that's going to be, I think, the next question is, when does that strategy happen? And we see how well it worked for Jack. I think if you're someone that's maybe just a little further back, like I said, I feel like honestly for Chris Matthews, we saw he had the pace over Todd Merkel. Just unfortunately that slight mistake caught the outside wall entering 3. I think this is a good opportunity for him now to maybe jump in, hit pit road, get the tires, get the faster pair, and then see, kind of like I said, see where everything shakes out. Because I think he would probably get up close to maybe where Maxwell and Jack are on track, depending on how long they run until they pit. So it's just that risk versus reward, though, Brent, as we all know very well, because you always risk that caution coming out at a bad time. But as they say that, here comes Jack Walls. He's going to make his second and final stop here as he comes out of 4. And right now looks like he's going to be the only one to partake in that. So Jack Walls last time was the first one in. He's going to be the first one again this time by. I will now jump back up to our race leader in that 13 of Ryan Kelly, holding pretty steady about that 1.8 second gap. Actually, identical lap times for Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling that last time around.
Yeah, I can't help but keep an eye on this battle with the 92 car and the 2. They were running so close together, but ever since Chris had that little bit of a mistake and got into the wall there, he hasn't been able to really bring that gap closer anymore. But the other thing I can't help but see is just creeping into that window is the 17 car coming right back into the mix. He's still good. He's still one of the better cars when it comes to saving those tires and making that long run speed happen. But I'm a little bit worried for the 92 car that he may be getting ready to fall prey to the 17.
Yeah, I think at this point it's only a matter of time, like I said, with that damage and knowing also usually the outright pace that Chad Wilkes has. To say, again, we don't expect to see him this far back, but I say he's had to make up, like we said, about 8-9 seconds of whatever happened on pit road to cost him so much track position. So it's something, I mean, when we've had interviews with him, he said, like, you can't make mistakes because these races tend to go caution free. And that's exactly what we've got again going thus far. I mean, again, knock on wood, I say we got 28 still to go here, 28 to go at the line. So yeah, you never know. Of course, everything can change in a blink of an eye. But right now, let's say we stay caution free here as Jack Walls is caught up to Maxwell Caldwell, try to get around him, use those fresh tires, see if he can get himself back to the lead lap again, just in case of that caution. And of course, while we're watching that, so you see Chad Wilkes has just gone around the 92 of Chris Matthews. Like I said, I feel like if at this point here you're at 53, you've got 28 to go. You know you're in their window here. I feel like if you're Chris Matthews, I short pit. I mean, we've seen how well it's been working for the 83 of Jack Walls. I think he's going to be solidly in that top 3 or 4 position by the time this race comes to an end. So I think at some point you got to realize, okay, my tires are hurting. I've got the damage. Let's try something different here.
Yeah, completely agree. The 17 car's got to try something to make up some ground. Otherwise, unless there's a caution, he's just going to finish somewhere close to where he's at right now, it looks like. And same thing with the 92 car. The 92 car has got that damage. He's falling back. He can definitely make it to the end now. And if he can get into the pits a lap or two ahead of the cars in front of him, that's a big gain for him on track after the fact. So I think all these tires will even out by the end of the next tire run. But the thing that I'm keeping an eye on right now is the 17 car is running extremely comparable lap times to the leader, and he's in dirty air the whole time. So there may be something said watching the 2 car drop off, and it looks like I'm not sure if the 92 was able to make it, but there may be something to say here about dirty and clean air. Is the draft worth the struggle and the loss that you get by running harder into the corners?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, pit road very popular that time. By like I said, Maxwell Caldwell led it off. Then you had Todd Merkel come in with him, then Chris Matthews, Jim Brooks, Michael Spell. So we've got 5 drivers all hitting pit road there at lap number 55. Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, they stay out here. So it's going to be, this time around, is going to be 25 to go. So again, 80 laps is the scheduled distance. As you can see, Maxwell Caldwell just now rolling out of the pit. So he is going to go a lap down here. Looking at the pit stops for the other drivers, I'll say it looks like pretty even between Todd and Chris. And once again, here they are. They come out right together. They just, like I said, they cannot get away from one another. That's also going to bring Gabe Butler on into pit road this next time around. So I believe that's only leaving a few drivers left to make their final stops, which I believe are Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, and now Chad Wilkes in that 17 car.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it always is fun to watch how the cars on different strategies measure their tires. It's got to be really difficult for somebody. I'm watching Jack Walls just cut his way up through the field. It's got to be difficult for someone with those great tires not to push as hard as you can. Really, with in the back of your mind thinking, okay, we've still got 25 laps left. I've got to have something left in the tank. I can't just burn these things up for 5 or 10 laps and then let them burn by me for the rest of the run. So really, really tough trying to figure out how to moderate these new tires versus being around these cars that are definitely not near the same level of grip that you are.
Yeah, you see right there, Ryan Kelly committed to the inside. I think that's going to be a sign that he's going to pit. Nope, he proves me wrong. He just wanted to give him the outside line there. I'm a little surprised by that. I really thought with Ryan going the way he did, he'd probably just try to let Jax go by it so he could pit there. But they continue to stay out here. So I'd say right now it's kind of a cat and mouse game with our top 2. Of Ryan Kelly and Larry Yingling. Chad Wilkes still holding on as well in that 3rd spot. He's trying to stretch out, probably just hoping for maybe a caution, maybe get a little bit of a lucky break, because right now we only have 4 cars on the lead lap with Jack just getting his lap back there in that 83 car. So I'd say that's always one of those things that is always going to come into these drivers' minds as well. But again, the other thing we mentioned about Maxwell is the gap he's got to that number 83 of Jack Walls is a pretty significant gap. But this time it's only a 4-lap difference between the two of them. Actually, as I say that, here comes Ryan Kelly. He's going to come in earlier this time. He's going to beat the 67 to the punch this time around. So I think Larry opting to see if maybe he can get a little bit better long run speed than that 13 car. But again, the problem for Larry though is while he's trying to make that time up, he's getting passed by cars on fresh tires.
This strategy, I'm a little bit nervous for Larry. I'm watching these other cars and kind of watching the pace of the race, and that's going to be a big advantage, especially as good as the 2 car is about getting on and off a pit road. The 13. I'm a little bit worried for Larry just because, the 13's so good getting on and off pit road, and he's so good at just putting down lap after lap after lap. That I think that 67 may be at a little bit of a disadvantage. I do see that the battle with the 2 car and the 92 have tightened back up those, so it looks like they're back together again.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I was looking at the intervals. I was like, yep, here they go again, 0.3 of a second apart from one another on equal tires. So there's no advantage either way right now. It's just a race between the two of them here. One of our viewers, Jamie, was mentioning, kind of commentators cursed Chris while we were focused on him. He winds up catching the wall off of 3. So I was like, hopefully don't have that happen once more. But we're going to jump actually to our race leader, Chad Wilkes, 17 car, because he's actually now in this long run. He's running the wall right now. I think just trying to find anywhere to get some speed out of that 17 car. And I believe, like I mentioned, I think he is the last driver yet to make his final pit stop of the race. Again, I think he's just at this point just going off strategy, just hoping maybe something will happen to change things up a little bit. But yet again, though, once Chad does pit, it's going to be that 83 of Jack Walls who's going to cycle out with the lead after that pit stop that he made. And then also you see in the mix now as well as that 94 of Maxwell Caldwell. He's right into this picture as well, able to get around Larry Yingling after Larry's pit stop just that lap or so later as well.
I am pretty surprised with Chad's strategy call here. He's in the past few weeks kind of made a career in a way of doing a great job of moderating his tires, but also short pitting and using that advantage to get up and make some track position up. So the fact that he's trying to stretch these tires may be more of a sign of desperation than a sign of the typical race strategy. But right now he is almost 3 seconds off the pace. And that is going to translate to a ton of time once he does cycle through and get those fresh good years.
Yeah, so I think, like I said, that's probably the thing. This is kind of rolling the dice. Might as well try something. Like I said, right now, a lot of drivers are back on the lead lap again after their pit stops. Right now, the only 2 sitting a lap down are the 48 and the 88. Which, though, of course, they should get their laps back, I believe, after Chad makes his pit stop. But the other thing that could go in his favor, if we do get that timely caution, I believe they have 3 sets of tires in the pit, so they've used 2 of them. He's only used the 1, so right now he would have 1 to his advantage at the moment. So it'll be very interesting to see, because right now you see Ryan Kelly starting to creep in on Jack Walls. 8 laps difference between their tires, so I feel like it's only a matter of time for that 13 to get back to the lead. And again, still kind of keeping an eye out on that 92 and 2 battle. It's holding pretty steady at about 0.3. As there goes Ryan Kelly, he's going to grab that second spot. And again, even more importantly, I think, is that gap he's got over that 67 of Larry Yingling.
Yeah, once again, Ryan Kelly and the strategy call. He's obviously a true talent, but the strategy is just backing it up as well. The last time by was actually kind of an interesting thing. I watched Ryan's laps, and Ryan was the fastest car on track. Second fastest was Jack Walls, but he was nearly a second slower than Ryan. And then Chad was the 17 car was another second slower than Jack. So, there's a huge difference here in what's going on the track. The closing rate, which is a challenge, these guys, especially for the trailing car, if you come up on somebody that's 2 or 3 seconds slower on track than you are, it's not that difficult to get into that person that you're coming up on, just because you don't expect the amount that they're slowing down into the corner. It can really change up your line as well.
Yeah, it's always very, very different. Like I said, entry points and angles and all that. So right now, the leader 17 to go. Ryan Kelly, he takes the point back with Chad Wilkes pitting. So right now these are the top 4. Is the 13 Ryan Kelly, Jack Walls still holding second, Maxwell Caldwell there in third, and then Larry Yingling in that 4th position. So again, right now on the tire side of things, Larry has the tire advantage, but he's 3 seconds off of our race leader, and then he's going to have to try to get around that 94 and the 83 to even have a shot at that 13 of Ryan Kelly. So right now these guys are all pretty close together, though. After running caution free for as long as we have, they're still all within 3 seconds of one another. And I see that battle between Chris Matthews and Todd Merkel still holding pretty solidly, about that 3/4 of a second gap between them. Chris has been able to get there, just hasn't found a way to do anything with it. Like I said, I feel like all season long these two have just been pretty much attached at one another's hip, it seems like, throughout the season.
That is the way it goes in racing, especially if you don't like someone. These guys do seem to get along, luckily, but you do tend to end up around the same guys a lot on track. So the last 20, 30 laps even, it's just been the Todd and Chris show. They're putting on the race and really really having to drive their hearts out just to maintain where they're at. But this is the battle on track to watch. Everything else is kind of starting to settle in a little bit, but that 92 is not giving up, and the 2 is not ready to roll over and let that happen.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also a little bit of bragging rights there as well, because I mean that's a top 5 position. You always say if you can't get a top 10, you always want to get a top 5. And saying here with the interviews at Area 51, I say if you want to, obviously the first thing is you want to get that top 3 as well. As I say, here comes Larry. He's got the momentum here on the 94 Maxwell Caldwell. Maxwell actually kind of pinched between himself and Larry and the 83 of Jack Walls. I see Maxwell, I think, trying to see if he can make that third group happen. Can't quite do. He's going to try to cut underneath the 83 out of 4. But Larry's actually going to get a 2 for 1. That's about the best thing that could have happened for Larry to try to have a chance to chase back down that 13 of Ryan Kelly. So move him back up in second, but it's about a 3-second gap between first and second here.
Yeah, there seem to be 2 universal truths in the world. If you wash your car, it's going to rain, and if you say that the best battle on track is happening, it's going to happen somewhere else the next lap by. That one got intense pretty quick. Ooh, the 90.
Yeah, big hit.
Jack touches the wall and really almost loses it and somehow gathered it back up. But man, these guys are running so hard. They fan back out now, but they are running so hard just to make it to the end of this race and try to get that podium.
Yeah, and like I said, that was a big hit for Jack. I'm going to be curious to see if that car is going to be able to hold up the rest of the way, because I think that's going to really hurt his overall pace. I'll say we're going to try to avoid the commentator's curse, but we got to keep watching this battle here between that 2 and the 92, because Chris is again there. It's only about a 1/10 of a second between the 2 of them, as we've got 13 to go here at Auto Club. You can see again, Chris is just showing Todd his nose every opportunity he gets, but you can see Todd sends it way deeper into turn number 1. Like I said, everybody looks like each of these drivers has their different approaches for the turns. Kind of you got the easy in, fast out approach by the 92 car, and then you got the 2, I think, trying to be a little more aggressive, protect that position you've got by having to be a little more aggressive on entry.
The 92 car has a little bit of an advantage here. It's almost always a little bit easier to be the second car and follow, especially if you're not putting, not giving 100% and letting things kind of come to you. So right now, the 2 is feeling a ton of pressure off of the 92, and the 92 is doing everything he can to fill up that mirror. So, you'll see the 2 diving in deep, and really that's working to the advantage of the 92. So, we go back and forth here, but, really I think the 92 is setting the pace here and just biding his time. If he doesn't make a mistake, he's really setting up the 2 pretty nicely.
Yeah, so another thing, of course, is I'm going to try to keep an eye on lap times as well. Jack Wall's about a half a second slower than these guys. He's got about 8 seconds over them, so he's got a pretty comfortable margin there. As you see, here comes Chris. He's going to try to see if he can make the outside work. It's a little tight. Oh, just kisses the wall off of 4. And I saw that the issue earlier in 3. Now it's going to be off of 4. Don't think he hit it as hard, but again, it's going to take him now a while. So he goes from about 2/10 to about 9/10 of a second just with that little mistake there. So unfortunately for Chris, he's going to have to try to regroup and get it all done again there. So I'm trying to look at the right side there, and I maybe see a little crinkle in the right front fender, but I don't think that's going to be too bad compared to the earlier contact he had. But like I said, it gives Todd Merkel, again, a lot of breathing room once again here.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep an eye on their top speeds. Looks like Todd's running about 182 into the corner there, and Chris is running about the same. So I think that he'll recoup and kind of gather himself. Hopefully that damage, or he didn't collect any more damage, and he can just kind of recover here. Like I said, if you don't make a mistake, sometimes you kind of dictate the pace, but it's so hard when you're coming down to 10 to go. Not getting a little bit over exuberant on the throttle, or just keeping that concentration.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm saying that's the name of the game with this thing, is you have to try to run these races, especially like you said, a track like Auto Club. I mean, it's so wide, it's so inviting. You're just like, oh no, you mentioned it during the pre-race. So you got to pick your points on the throttle in, throttle out. And it's just unfortunate, just a little too soon to get back on the throttle, misjudged what the grip was going to be, and that's all it takes with these cars. And so that's unfortunate. We just saw it there with the 92 car. And I think it's honestly, I feel like a track like this, I think, like you said, leading and having that clear in front of you, it's almost harder to hit your marks lap after lap, just because of that fact that you see right here, you've got, I think that's 5 lanes there. You see all the kind of the seams on the track there. I mean, you've got 5 lanes to work with that you have to try to manage. Okay, at what point do I lift? Do I brake? Where do I start my turn in? When do I get back on the throttle? I mean, when you've got that much to look at, it's very easy to overshoot that kind of stuff.
Definitely is. You know, you look at different types of auto racing. I come from a little bit more of a road racing background, and in road racing, you go into a corner and you'll have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 corner markers and brake markers there, so you can find an input marker. We watched the 92 push up again there off of 4, just trying to do anything he can to catch back up there to the 2 car, but in oval racing, that's a little bit tougher. Finding those markers is harder, and in this track is probably as hard as any of them, because the track is so wide and there are so many different lanes that you can take, that it's so hard just to find any advantage at all. And when you do, you're stepping so close to that line that it's super easy to step over.
Yeah, exactly right. So right now, though, the driver that's been pretty much hitting lap after lap perfectly is that 13 of Ryan Kelly. So once he made that bold move to get the lead, that 3-wide battle we saw between himself, Larry, and Chad, he's just been stepping out and stepping away here. It's now up to about 2.6, I should say down to about 2.6 seconds. It was about 3 going into it. But I think at this point, Ryan's just kind of playing tire preservation. He knows he's got 2.5 seconds to work with. So you only have to win by a little bit to have a chance at these things. So I say Ryan Kelly, though, I say he's just hoping for these next 6 laps to go without any dramas, not have to worry about a late race restart. Like we said, to say, knock on wood, these races have tended to go caution-free. And I say as we cross 6 to go here, it's looking very likely we'll get another one of those tonight.
You know, I think we've touched on it a few times about concentration, and that's one of the things that makes Ryan Kelly so good. He's just clicks off the same line every lap, and if he has to get offline a little bit, he does it, but then he goes right back to his routine. He's so predictable at lap after lap after lap. But, you know, in the long run, you know, we've got 5 laps left. You know, still, anybody can make a tiny mistake, and this is a completely different race.
Yeah, I mean, exactly right. We saw Jack Walls a little earlier. He caught the wall really heavy off of turn 2, I believe it was. And, I mean, he had to chase that car about halfway down the track. I mean, if he overcorrects it, he loops that thing down the backstretch. I mean, if it stays up on the racing surface, that's a caution. I mean, and like you said, I mean, everybody's going for it. There's nobody that's rolling over right here. So at this point, like I said, like that's what I'm saying for Ryan Kelly. Right now, the first thing he wants to see that white flag. At that point, you know it's over. Then at that point, you just run one more clean lap, and you've got another trophy in your case, and you go on to the final race with a little bit of a bigger margin going over that 67 Larry Yingling. So it's a very long 5 laps right now for that 13 car.
Exactly. You know, when you're in the car and you're 5, 10, 15 laps ago, it's almost one of the most stressful places to be is leading. It sounds like it would be the easy spot to be, but when you're out front, you're thinking about what you've got to do, but you're also trying to piece together what everyone else is doing behind you, and they're just sitting back watching you. So it's stressful. I would venture to say that the most stressful place on track is the leader with 10 to go. So I think we're coming to 3 or 4 to go now, but you know these are long laps for him. So you know, going back to the 83 car, Jack Walls catching the wall earlier. I'm not gonna lie, I thought we were gonna see a tragedy there. The way he collected that car was a fine piece of driving, but and he's really recovered well. He hit the wall a ton, and he's really not off the pace. He was a 10th faster than the car in front of him. He's got a little bit of a gap there, but he was faster last time by.
Yeah, you're right. About a 10th quicker than the car in front, 2/10 quicker than the car behind. So even with that short pit, even with the damage, we talked about how good he is on the long run, taking care of those tires, and he's been showing it again tonight. So not ignoring anything up front, Larry's got it down to about 2.2 seconds, so he's bringing in just that little bit, but unfortunately for Larry, I think it was with them, again, Larry's got the 1 lap fresher tires, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And unfortunately, kind of to rub salt in the wound for Chris Matthews, here comes Chad Wilkes with about 9 lap fresher tires. I think he's going to try to grab this 6th position from Chris, and then might even honestly have a chance to try to chase down Todd Merkel as well, depending on how quick he can get by. And it's going to be even easier if that car is disappearing on track, because you won't even know where he is.
Yeah, it's easy to make a pass when no one can defend against you.
Yeah, so using the cloak of invisibility of that 17 car. When he's there, it's very bright and colorful, but when he's gone, good luck figuring out where he is. Again, Chris catches the ball just a little bit off of 4, maybe a little bit of mirror watching there. So that's something I'm always guilty of doing, as Chad Wilkes does grab that 6th position. So now he's got 2 laps to try to make up 2 seconds on Todd Merkel. But a little further back here is going to be Ryan Kelly. He's going to be coming out of turn number 4. Like I said, he just wants to see this white flag, and it looks like, barring any craziness at the very last moment, Ryan Kelly is going to get that white flag. We got one to go here at Auto Club.
Yeah, the next flag will end this race. So, Ryan just wants to put down a good clean lap. He wasn't the fastest car on the track last lap. That was Larry Yingling, but he's got a good gap there, and I think at this point he's just trying to be safe, get that car turned back around to the start finish line, and he is halfway down the back straightaway and closer to his goal.
Yeah, so everything looking good for Ryan. I'm saying he's been on a tear this season. Say Larry got him last week, but say Ryan looking to rebound quickly there with AC. He's going to run a little higher line in 3 and 4 than he's run all night long. But I think that's just for him to enjoy this one a little bit more as Ryan Kelly comes out of 4. He's going to get the win here tonight at Auto Club Speedway. Stretch the points lead over Larry Yingling, who's going to finish second tonight in the over him in the points. And then say wiping off any rust he might have had, that 94 Maxwell Caldwell, he's going to bring it home in that 3rd position. And like I said, Jack Walls, he used the pit strategy, I think, to perfection tonight, jumps up into that 4th spot. So great job by Jack. And then Todd Merkel is going to hold off the 17 and Chad Wilkes. He's going to grab that top 5. Chad Wilkes, so solid recovery into 6th. Chris Matthews is going to grab that 7th spot after, unfortunately, that contact we saw. And then you got Jim Brooks there in 8th. Gabe Butler in 9th. And then rounding out our top 10 is going to be the 48 of James Ledford. And it's going to be Michael Spell in the 11th position. Unfortunately, 1 lap down, as he's actually doing a little bit of off-road and some lawn mowing over there in that car. But it's going to be Ryan Kelly getting the win tonight.
Yeah, and I feel the need to put it out there, but Ryan Kelly on the last lap, I assumed he was taking it easy, and he was the fastest car on the track last lap.
Yeah, you're right. 49.40 as you see Maxwell going to give him a little bit of grief there as he's going to get ready here to celebrate on the front stretch. But yeah, well-earned win here for that 13 car. I think we're going to see Chad Wilkes fly by there. He goes down the grass as well as Ryan's going to loop it around here on the front stretch. A well-deserved win for him. Like I said, that's going to put him in a great position going into that final race next week at Homestead.
A lot of fun to watch. You just know what you're going to get with Ryan, and that's going to be consistency every time by. A lot of times we watch these races and we see the fastest guy and make some headway and really pull a good gap between the cars around him. Other times you see the fastest guy is not as consistent, and the tortoise wins the race. But with Ryan, that's the hard thing about beating Ryan, is the fact that he's Mr. Consistent and Mr. Fast. He's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, he's a monster at these tracks, especially too. I mean, he's been stepping up everywhere. There's been tracks he says, "Oh, that's not really my best track." Then he'll wind up going out and winning it, or finishing top 2, top 3. So yeah, so great job by Ryan. And you can see definitely a lot of happy people for him on the track, all going up to celebrate with him. As I think Maxwell's trying to lead him to that Fuzzy's victory lane there, as he's going to loop it on in there. And we'll pull up our final results here so we can go over that one more time before we pull up our interviews. So again, it's Ryan Kelly about 2 seconds over Larry Yingling getting the win tonight. You got Maxwell Caldwell in 3rd, Jack Walls 4th, Todd Merkel rounding out our top 5. Then you got Chad Wilkes, Chris Matthews, Jim Brooks, Gabe Butler, and James Ledford rounding out our top 10. And Michael Spell in 11th. Unfortunately, Skylar Brown and Joseph DeCiro weren't able to make the grid this evening. So it sounds like some hardware issues for Skylar. Definitely look forward to seeing him next week. I say he will be also one of the challenge for these front runners. I say whenever he's in the races, he's always been one to watch. But with that, we got some drivers to have a chat with here. So we'll start off with my partner in crime most of the season. I'll say it was always a pleasure to have you, of course, as well, Brennan. But we're going to grab that number 94 of Maxwell Caldwell, so we'll be able to get a commentator-on-commentator interview here. Let's see what our 3rd place finisher in that 94 has got to say about tonight. So Maxwell, I say not a shocker there, caution-free tonight here at Auto Club. But we saw a little bit of mixed strategy for some of the guys up front. You went long the first pit run. Second time around, you went ahead and went short. It seemed like, based on Jack Walls, it seemed like that short pit strategy worked pretty well for him. When you saw him do that and saw where he came out, was that one of those where you're kind of kicking yourselves like, I should have done that?
No. I mean, I saw he pitted early. I'd already had it in my mind. My lap that I really wanted to pit on, that I was predicting, was the exact lap that Larry pitted on the first sequence. And if I was going to pit with Larry, I wasn't going to beat him. So I decided to try to do the Chad Wilkes strategy. I thought, well, maybe, with 2.5 seconds of fall off, I thought, man, maybe, I could see. We've had some races, that me and you've commentated this year where, guys would stay out a little longer and you thought they'd be in trouble, but then they'd mow down that 10 or 12-second gap and get it all right back. And I think I was able to gain some time back on that second run, just not what I needed to. And if I wanted to secure a third place finish, I didn't need to pit with Jack Walls and be equal, but I needed to wait 2 or 3 laps and then pit after, so I would have fresher tires, but still have about 25 laps to catch. And that's exactly what I did. So with about 10 to go, Larry done got by, didn't have much of a run, didn't have much tire left, used it up trying to catch Jack. So just kind of rode it out. And, if I'm not going to beat the top 2 guys in the league, I might as well be happy with running third, right?
The one thing I do bring up though is, how big was the smile on your face though on that first run where I think it was you and I think it was you, Larry, and Chad running 3 wide there for a little while there, going after the lead there. How much fun was that? So I know that's something that you've been missing week in and week out. How much fun was that behind the wheel to be doing that?
Oh man, it was a blast. Here at Auto Club, this is such a wide track, and no matter what kind of setup you get, which tonight's setup, man, I wish kind of Dale Knott was still around. We had a little bit looser setups. I think it'd have been a lot more racing. I think the top would have been really a prominent place. It kind of looked like Atlanta if we had one of those looser sets. But, we got what we got for tonight. Wasn't the best. But, right there on the start, Chad Wilkes, it's like he didn't go. Either I timed the start really well, which I never do, or he just didn't go well. And I really wanted to peak below him, but I didn't want to get a penalty for trying to pass before the start-finish line, especially from the admins, because I don't remember exactly what that rule is on initial starts. So by the time I had to check up, it gave Larry that run where he could come to the inside, and it kind of put us 3 wide right there at the start. Other than that, I think I actually right there in turn 1 could have had enough momentum. I could have at least been side by side with Chad, maybe got him down in turn 3, and I could have maybe led for a little bit. I don't know. I know I had the faster car there at the start, but just as tight as this setup was, and it was so hard to pass. Either you had to pass somebody around the top, or if you're on the bottom, you just had to hope they went too high and kind of messed up their line or did something. It was just extremely hard to pass. And then once you got, trying to race with Chad and passing those couple times I did, I was taking peaks thinking I wasn't tearing my tires up too much, but I ran that high side one time and it was like game over on that first run. Once I ran that high side, it just burned the right front. I think that first run, it was down all the way to 50%. So that first run really set the tone for everything else. In hindsight, I should have pitted Larry, but I think I still would have finished third either way. So just proud of the effort tonight. And, I didn't want to finish 11 seconds off the leader. That's not the goal. But them top 2, they had the right strategy. They had it figured out from the start. So good to them.
Yeah, they've been monsters all season long. So to be able to finish third to them is no small feat in itself, because like I said, we know what these guys have been able to do week in, week out, and we saw you having a lot of fun with them early on in that first run as well. So I say you got one more to say. Well, I'm gonna con Brendan into doing another one with me here next week at Homestead for the finale. We'll let you get some more wheeling in. See if we can beat up on Larry and Ryan one more time before we get into the off-season break there. So before we let you go though, definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give?
Man, just thanks to my teammates. Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly, and Chad Wilkes. Been running with them for how many seasons now? It was hard to commentate with you this season and not call them teammates. Because I'd still practice with them each and every week and just learn from them on how the car was running that week. And man, I kind of wish I could have jumped in here at the start of the season. I know I was taking a break, but they had all them loose setups and were so much fun. And then I jump in, and when we go back to the same setups we had before, so it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not complaining. I had a fun time tonight. I wish that setup was a little looser, but just thanks, to my teammates. Thanks to you guys for the broadcast. And you got Brandon up there because you got tired of hearing me screaming and saying, ooh, look at that, look at this. You had to get some different fresh eyes in there. I understand. My time's over. You kicked me out. Gail, I'm sad. No, I'm just kidding. I got antsy. I saw Auto Club on the schedule and kind of had it circled. I'm like, man, if I can. And with the car counts being low, I just wanted to jump out here. But, kudos to Green White Checkered. You've been putting on awesome broadcasts. I've had tons of fun with you in the booth. Hope to do it maybe more. Maybe next season we'll look at some stuff. I just kind of wanted to jump in a couple races here. But kudos to you too, Brandon, for jumping in. Been listening to you as I was racing tonight. You're doing a heck of a job. You got beautiful insight, awesome view on the racing going on and just the different drivers and their backgrounds. And hope you guys have fun watching next week as them top 2 battle for a championship. Maybe I can try to spoil it, but I doubt it.
Yeah, it's been an awesome job. So yeah, congrats, Maxwell. Great third place run for your first race back in a while. So we're joking about shaking that rust off, and definitely showed it wasn't there for long. So I'll see if you can get a couple spots better next week over at Homestead.
10-4. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that's going to bring us now to our second place finisher in that number 67. Larry, we saw you go for that short pit strategy earlier. The second time around, you went ahead and went with the second, or I should say, go a lap later than Ryan there. But man, I think the thing that stood out for Brandon and I there was that battle of you and Ryan coming out of the pits side by side for multiple laps there. I mean, how hard are you guys racing? Obviously, trying to manage tires, but also get that track position. But at the same time, I mean, how much fun was that to be battling side by side with Ryan for, it felt like probably about 3-4 laps there, just neither one of you giving it an inch.
Wow, it was a blast. Yeah, I thought with how far back or how close I was to Ryan, I thought I was maybe going to come out in front of him. But as usual, I was a wimp entering pit road, and I didn't necessarily have the best pit exit. So we came out side by side, and we're pretty much side by side for a couple of laps, I think. And I think the overall race was pretty good. The race for the win and other battles up front. But it was just a very annoying race for me because I just made a lot of mistakes when I was passing Chad earlier on the bottom. I forget if I either drove in too deep or just got on the throttle too early, and it was just slowing me down. And I think Chad was trying to do what I was doing just so he can stay next to me. And I saw my mirror, Ryan. That was enabling Ryan just to get a huge run off the corner. And he ended up passing us. And it's just weird the past few weeks, my short run pace is just off. And that pretty much goes with my qualifying pace nowadays. But the long run pace is pretty good, I'd say. I think it's pretty equal to Ryan. And I just got to work on a lot of stuff, especially pit entry.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much on the pit entry because I honestly thought that Ryan sped on pit road. I mean, he was in there hot. I think he probably had to actually back it down under the pit speed limit to get away with it. Because with Brandon and I were watching, I was like, I don't think there's any way he made that. And so I'm watching to see if he rolls out at the 14, 15 second mark, and he sure enough, he winds up doing it. And yeah, we commented on during the broadcast, I think he was about 2 seconds faster on pit lane than anybody else. And it was just, yeah, I mean, he was able to get pretty much everything and then some out of that pit entry. So I think that was, like you said, I think that's where you weren't able to quite clear him. But yeah, it was definitely a gamble on the 13's part. I say for him, luckily it paid off, but it was definitely very tight. But yeah, that battle between the two of you afterwards was definitely top notch stuff.
Yeah, there was one point when we were side by side, and he got a nice run in the center of the corner, and he was trying to come up, and I was making mistakes, and it was just under braking, I guess. I was starting to wiggle and whatever, and I felt like we might have touched. It didn't register as a contact or anything, but we probably couldn't put a piece of paper between us at one point. But yeah, I think I came in the pits like not even a second behind him. So I thought for sure I had to be out in front of him. Then when he came out of the pits, and I'm just passing the finish line, I think I knew that I screwed up, and that forced me to stay out longer late in the run just to see. Hope to God that newer tires helped, but it didn't really do anything.
Yeah, so you're able to close up a little bit, but yeah, it's just not enough there at the end. And let's say we all know obviously what Ryan's able to do on older tires as well, but I'd say he's going to stretch out the lead a little bit going into that final race at Homestead. So I'd say you're going to definitely have to kind of step up your game a little bit. I'd say not that you can much finishing second here tonight, and probably have to hope for, I'm guessing, a little bit of misfortune for Ryan. But let's say obviously one to go. You two have just been completely dominant throughout the course of this season. So maybe on the bragging right side of things, are you going to be guys look at see who's got the most wins over the course of that season? That we can rub that one on him maybe.
Yeah, but if he does win next week, we tie on wins. So I'll be happy if we cut the championship trophy in half and give it to me.
So I'll let you do the bartering with him on that one, Larry. But yeah, just awesome job tonight, I'd say, as always. But say before we let you go, so I know you've always got some great sponsors on that 67 machine. One of which I still need to get a hold of and get some T-shirts made. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and say thanks some of those guys that are able to kind of help you do what you do here tonight.
Well, first I want to shout out all my teammates this race. Maxwell Caldwell, it was great to have him back for this race. Just wanted to point out to mess with Dale, his first race back, and he gets an interview. Just saying. And Ryan Kelly, great win by him. He's 12 points ahead now. It's going to take a miracle. Probably have to cut his internet line before the race if I was to win. So, then Chad Wilkes. And then I figured since there's no guarantee of me getting a top 3 finish next week, I'll give a big shout out now to Dale Knott. He was the main admin for the first 9 races of the season and was one of, if not the main reason why we're driving the Xfinity cars that all of us enjoy. He provided us all with great setups and enabled us to race and look forward to next week. It's a shame that he had to step down a few weeks ago due to his job, but obviously that's more important. I've been hearing that next season will be invite-only Super Speedway Truck League, so I'm interested to see who now comes back to race. And all my sponsors, Hash Brothers Performance. If you need anything worked on your LS engine or GM vehicle, contact them on Facebook to see what they can do for you. Muffin Sports Cards. If you're into sports car collecting or want to get into it and don't know where to start, follow Muffin Sports Cards on Instagram. He's always wanting to get people closer to the hobby. He can help you find stuff, so don't be afraid to ask him for help. And Forward Screen Printing. If you like t-shirts, jackets, bags, hats, shorts, among other stuff, with custom artwork printed on them, check them out on fwscreen.com. And shout you guys out as always for the broadcast. I always enjoy watching them all. And Homestead should definitely be a pretty good race. It's just like it's multi-grooves. I think last time we were there it was not. But just like this track. And I think it should be a pretty good race.
Yeah, saying, and I have a feeling your team's gonna be a little mad at you for your post-race curriculars. To say we're watching your car, I'm watching you doing some barrel rolls here down the front stretch on that pit wall. So, yeah, they might have a couple bills for you after that one tonight as well.
That's all right. I'll just take one of Ryan's cars.
That sounds like a fair. So make sure he doesn't get any advantage on you there. I think that's a pretty spot on plan there.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, Larry. I think you also say it looks like you got some potential business as well. So I say get in touch with Eric Laurie. Looks like he's looking, maybe wants to get a shirt as well. So say get in touch with one of our other Area 51 drivers. But yeah, just awesome job though tonight, Larry. So definitely look forward to seeing you bring with everything you've got next week at Homestead. But yeah, enjoy this one, man, and look forward to catching you next week, sir.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, so with that, we've got one driver to finish up with, and that is our race winner in that number 13 of Ryan Kelly. And Ryan, I mean, I say, Brandon, I don't think there's much more we can say, but that move for you to take the lead, I mean, that's a power move if we've ever seen one. I mean, that was incredible to see you work the top side, clear both of them, and then from there, I mean, you just set sail. I mean, how enjoyable was that to complete that pass on the top of 3 of Larry and Chad, to be able to grab that lead and then just be able to kind of ride off into the sunset there?
Yeah, it was a blast time. Going in, I saw definitely every time they were side by side, it was slowing them down. It was just definitely quicker being single file. So I was getting huge runs, and yeah, one time I just got a big enough run and they both dove it down and stuck on the outside. Definitely worked, and I think I had the tires after that to just pull a little bit of a lead.
Now, something Maxwell mentioned was the fact that the tires. He said he tried the high side once, and it just felt like his right front was just that ruined the tire the rest of the run. Did you notice a difference after you made that big move on the top side? Did it really burn out your tires as well, or did it wind up? Did it seem like it still was kind of the same as what you were used to, even when you'd be running the low side?
Yeah, it didn't do a terrible deal of damage for me. For me, just I think it definitely wore it out more than the bottom. So being consistent on the bottom and just using the top when you needed it, I think that was the way to go. Because I think the top was just a little faster, but it was definitely harder on the tires.
We know what you're able to do week in and week out. It was obviously a pretty popular win as well with your teammates there. We saw everybody go find you and congratulate you. So I mean, let's say is no winner take all like last season. So I'm sure you have a little bit of nightmares of how Phoenix kind of all transpired, but you're gonna go into it with a 12-point lead over Larry. So I say obviously you can never feel super confident about that, but I mean, how are you looking forward to that next one? Say, including of course having that little bit of a margin in front of that 67 car.
Yeah, I mean anything can happen, so you really never know. But 12 points is pretty comfortable for one race, so looking pretty good, and I'm excited for the last race at Homestead.
All right, man. It's always a pleasure to watch you do what you do best. Let's say Brad and I were definitely impressed with everything you were able to do tonight. But before we let you go, say I know you got plenty of people that you like to thank and shout out as well, so definitely wanted to give you the floor here as well.
Yeah, my teammates this race, Larry, Chad, and Maxwell. Good to have Maxwell back. Thank you guys for the broadcast. Always good going back and watching. And thanks to all the drivers. It's been a great season, and probably the cleanest racing we've ever had. And excited to finish it off next week.
Yeah, so I hope we finish that one off with the championship. Like I said, 11 down, 1 to go. So yeah, congrats again, Ryan. So enjoy this one. Keep an eye on your hauler and your shop. Make sure maybe Larry doesn't sneak out with one of your cars. It sounds like he might be gunning for one of them. But yeah, so enjoy this one, Ryan. It was a great job tonight getting that win this evening. And I look forward to seeing you next week at Homestead.
All right, thank you.
All right, Brendan, that is our race winner in that 13 of Ryan Kelly. Like you said, man, he definitely put on a clinic tonight once he got that lead. But I mean, like I said, it all goes back to that huge move by that 13 car to clear those two on the inside line. Like he said, he saw it slowing him down. He kind of he scanned it. He kind of assessed, okay, when do I make the move? And he hit it to perfection. Saying that big move was able to get him that win tonight here at Auto Club.
Yeah, and really it was just 80 laps of watching Ryan Kelly make the right call. From the very beginning of the race, we watched him, bide his time, and we've seen him do this all season. He bides his time, watches what the other cars around him do, and just kind of, I swear he's got extra sensors in his tires or something. I don't know. He's so good at just moderating that long tire run and really just judging where he needs to put his car, when he's out by himself or when he's around other cars. So he just seems to always make the right decision when it comes to who's around them, when to go, and when to stay.
Yeah, so he's definitely been on it this season. Saying, I mean, you got to be at the top of your game. Let's say to beat driver like Larry Yingling. I say we know how good he's always been throughout the season. Saying like I said, and then unfortunately some mistakes for Chad Wilkes. To say Chad's also one of those ones that you have to kind of keep an eye on week in and week out. And saying obviously Maxwell Caldwell shaking off a little bit of rust, still solidly in third position. So I'll say I would look to see Maxwell definitely step it up next week at Homestead. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this finale is going to play out. Say again, they say they got that. He's got a little bit of a points advantage going into it, so he doesn't have to go for broke. So saying I think that's going to be another thing too, where he can kind of manage that race. But you got to make sure that you don't points race too much, because so we've always seen that catch some drivers out from time to time as well.
Yeah, you can really let yourself just play it too safe going into these races, and the thing that I took away from this is watching, guys like Maxwell Caldwell. I knew that I had big shoes to fill coming into the booth this week and 2 weeks ago, but man, it just showed me that if there's a reason that he's so good in the booth is because he's so good on the track. Watching him come off the bench and jump right back into it, getting the top 3 out of it was just super impressive. And talking about the other guys in the field, Larry, as disappointed as he sounded, he was disappointed about a second place finish. Just shows how good he is and the perfection that he expects. But it's always going to be tough to beat Ryan Kelly. He's going to come to any track and be the guy to beat. But every weekend and week out and throughout this race, there were flashes of people. I watched, Chad Wilkes was really strong early on. Jack played the strategy card really well throughout the race. Jack Walls did. So I mean, there were probably 5 or 6 cars that I saw at different points in the race really flash the ability to win this race, and I think we're going to see more of that next week.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right, and I think we'll probably have a few other drivers. As I was seeing on the YouTube chat, Say Mark Brown, hopefully he'll be able to make it tonight as well. And then his son Skylar, I guess he had some computer issues, and hopefully going to get that nailed out, and then we'll get Skylar back on track. Because that's, again, I think the 10 car, Skylar Brown, I think he could definitely play spoiler. He's really one that Dale and I had noticed a lot when he'd been racing over here regularly. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, next week we've got one more to go at Homestead. We'll bring our season champion for this Area 51 Premier Series. And then let's say we'll have a little bit of an off season. We'll see what next season unfolds for us. But Brendan, as always, man, it's always a pleasure to have you in the booth with me. I say, like these guys are saying, like you have just such great insight. You're able to step in right off the bat. Like I said, it's crazy to think this is only your, I think, second or third broadcast over here. I say you make it look easy.
I really appreciate it. It helps having, being in the booth with someone like yourself that knows the racing, knows the guys, but also somebody that I'm comfortable with because I've known you for, probably 10 or 15 years at this point. It's a great group of guys to watch race. You and I both we go back a long way and we've got a lot of experience, but because of that, we've been able to watch people that, progress and being my second time in the booth, I have to say, I kind of hope Max stays on the track. Maxwell stays on the track because I've had so much fun seeing a different side of of racing, seeing the different approaches, and watching the way everybody really ebbs and flows throughout the race. It's been really fun. I look forward to doing this more often.
Yeah, so I definitely got you. I got you locked down for one more next week at Homestead. But yeah, so as always, I say, everybody else watching on YouTube, commenting, always appreciate. I say, always love you guys supporting us here at Green White Checker TV. It means a ton to us. So I say we got one more to go next week, or I should say Sunday. We've got the second to last race on the Super Speedway side of things. Right now, it's been the one that Gabe Butler's been putting on a clinic, those first two playoff races, and then next week will be playoff week on the Indy side, the Premier Series side here, and then of course on the Super Speedway side as well. So hope you all have a wonderful evening. Happy Friday Eve, and until then, hope you all have a wonderful evening and take care.